You are very welcome to this video. The eagle-eyed among you will probably notice that the bench looks a little bit different today. Well, today I'm going to try dyeing some leather. So I've been watching a few videos and I'm told that this dye is one of the best that you can buy. Whether it is or not, I don't know, but we're going to find out. And that what you should do is either use a wool dauber and cover your item with dye, or you can dip dye. Now, I want to try and get as even a coverage as possible, so I'm going to try dip dyeing today. So I have gloves, I have plastic wrap on my work surface. I will be putting some paper towel onto the work surface in a moment, and then I will be putting the dye in here. Now, I don't have very much dye, so I don't know how successful this will be, or whether I'll need to use a dauber as well. But what I have done very quickly is I've taken some paper clips. I don't know if you can see this. I've taken some paper clips and I've just unfolded them but left a little hook on the end. I don't know if you can see that. And I've actually got 3 of them. So it's just an ordinary paper clip that's been unfolded, and I've actually got 2 sections of leather that I want to dye, simply because I'm going to make 2 things which are exactly the same, so basically they're the same thing. Okay, so if you'll give you a few minutes, we'll come back in a moment when the table is all nice and ready. Right, I'm expecting to get dye everywhere. I just know I will. So I've got gloves, I've put some paper down, I've got paper towel just out of the sight. Just in case it's needed, I've also got a wool dauber, just in case it's needed. And I've got some plastic containers, which in theory you can close the lid of and seal. That looks like an accident waiting to happen, but we will see. We will see. So I'm going to shake the dye very well. So that's part 1. Part 2 is I'm going to put a small hole in each piece. Okay, just so that I can actually put the paper clip through. So I shall just put a small hole in each piece that's suitable for the paper clip, if I can get the all through. Maybe I should have used a hole punch of some sort, but not to worry. Let me just put that piece there. So we've got holes in all the pieces. I shall put that somewhere close just in case I need it, and I will prepare each piece first. Maybe I should have, if you put the long end, if you put the long end of the hook through first, you'll find it's easier to thread it through than bending the short end. It just makes life a bit easier. So that's the idea. It's hooked on. Okay, so let's see how much of a mess I can make. Now, close tightly, so you have to push down. and they have a top. I do actually have a second one of these which I use to keep all the dies in, and that's useful. That's not coming out. Okay, so I'm not too happy about that. Sophie Bings, I think it would have been a lot better if there had been a lip of some sort. There's no sediment. It's empty. I shall close that tightly and I shall put that there so that the lid doesn't try and pull the die over. I think it might be an idea actually to have more ventilation. I'm going to start with the smallest piece, and what you're supposed to do, I'm told, is just dip it in, shake it about, tap it, and then put it aside to dry. So the next piece is a bit bigger. I don't know. This is going to take a little bit more sinking in, I think. I'm going to need to push that down. So tap it, leave it somewhere to dry. Now I think this piece could be an interesting one. Let's see. Well, it fits like that. So that's actually, that's dyed quite easily. So the reason I'm doing the dip dye is I want a consistent coat on everything. So I shall put that there. Now I shall now do the other ones. Now maybe I should have actually used the dauber on one set and dip dyed the other set, but really I want the consistent coating on both of these. So just pull that out, put it down. The next one. You do need gloves, by the way. I don't care what anybody says, you do need gloves. That's probably not the most intelligent thing I did so far. I should have actually, and I think you need something to push your piece of leather or whatever it is down into the die. You do need something to help it go down into the die, and I do recommend that you have sufficient hooks and not do a reuse like I'm doing here, because it seems I'm getting dye everywhere, and I notice there's a little bit on the table from, ooh, this is a bit wider, this one. I thought they were about the same width actually, being a bit wider. Is it a problem? Nope, it's not a problem. So tap it and we'll put it to dry on the side there. Well, that's dyeing. Right, ladies and gentlemen, just a couple of things before we continue. 3/4 of the dye in the bottle. This is 118 millilitres, whatever that is in US units, I don't know, but we've used about 3/4 of the bottle to do that. Top tip, have at least 4 pieces of paper towel just ready to be used. I've cleaned out the dye thing and I've resealed it, so in theory nothing should get out of that, and I do have a separate container where I will keep the dye in as well, so that if there are any leaks it won't go anywhere. I won't keep it in that container, that will be kept for dye. But seriously, have at least 4 or 5 pieces of this available so that you don't have to come and tear it off the roll like I did. Okay, we'll come back in about 4 hours once the pieces have dried, and we'll have a look at them. Right, we've left these for about 5 hours. In fact, it's actually more than 5 hours, probably about 6 hours to dry, and they're all nice and dry. Now, one of the interesting things that I note, and you might be able to see this, I don't know, but they're different colours. As you can see, this one is much darker, this one has a sort of pattern on it, patina on it. This one is darker on one side than it is on the other, and really I haven't got the consistency that I was looking for, and I do think I know why. So now we're going to do lessons learnt about dyeing. First of all, you probably need a bigger container, a bigger amount of dye than this. This is 118 millilitres, so I would say you're probably going to need a lot more. Number 2, although this is an oil dye, an oil-based dye, you need a lot of ventilation. Okay, the amount of ventilation you need is much more than I had, and in fact I did have a bit of a problem with the smell as it was drying. Now, the third thing, and this is to do I think with the patina and the colour, it's all from the same piece of leather, so in theory it should all be the same. Now, the reason I think it's different is this wasn't big enough, so I would recommend that you need a bigger container for your dye. Now, of course, if you have a bigger container for your dye, you're going to need more dye just to be able to dip it in. And the next thing is the length of time that you leave each piece in the dye. As you can see, this is much darker than that piece there. They're much darker. Okay, so what I would recommend is that when you actually put the piece into the dye, you count. So for example, 001, 002, 003 out. This is light brown, and as you can see, that's actually quite a dark brown in colour, and once we put some sort of finish on there, it's going to be much darker indeed. As I say, that's probably more the colour of light brown that I was looking for, but again, once I put a finish on there, it's going to be darker. So that's the next thing. Now, so this is quite matte, and it will need a finish on it to actually bring the colour back. So that's the last piece that I need to tell you, is that you're going to need some sort of finish on these to bring it back. I hope you found that useful. I'd like to know what you think. You may know exactly why these are different colours, but my belief is quite simply that they were in the dye for different lengths of time. They are exactly off the same piece of leather. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe, not forgetting to press the bell icon for more. If you didn't, please hit the dislike button and tell me why in the comments below. If you'd like to support the channel, there are links to my Ko-fi and Patreon pages in the section below, in the comments section below. On the Patreon page you can get early access to videos and access to patterns and exclusive videos, and this pattern which we're going to be using for the sheath is on my Patreon page and is available for patrons. And I'll see you all soon for another how-to video.